to come on. There he is. So let me send a request. Okay. I sent you a request, Yancey, so you should be able. There you go.
Hey, what's up?
Hey,
What's up? How's it going, Dana?
good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm in my car because it's the quietest space that I can, you know, have something like this going on.
Now it works. I remember you did your last live in the car, and I was like, oh, we're gonna probably do our
That's
live
right. That's
car.
right. That's right. My mother-in-law's in town, and the kids are with her, and my wife is chilling. So, yeah, this is my little space right now.
It works. It works.
Right,
Wherever you can do it, right?
right. So,
Um,
what's up? Talk to me.
yeah, I'm glad we finally got to connect and get a date going, and
I know.
you
I
know,
know.
it's an important conversation, and I'm thank you for taking time out of your schedule and being part of Bullies Keep Out now as a new supporter. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, one of the first things I like to talk about is like if you've ever had any experience with bullying yourself or any form of hate online or offline, when you
Sure.
were younger and now.
Sure. I mean, it's interesting because I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, right? So, there we didn't have these platforms. We didn't have this space to, talk about this and to reflect on it and to help others, Ultimately, it's all about help. And somehow, I thankfully, I had my mom who pretty much raised me. I love my dad, but he was not really there like my mom was, So I had a great example in her, and I was very sensitive to what she was going through as a young woman, as an entrepreneur, as a student, and she's black Puerto Rican, so she looks very black. So growing up, in those times, the racism was very strong, and it was in our face. There was just no denying it. And my dad kind of looks like you, like very, very Caucasian, it's from Spain, kind of Colombian, So
Yeah.
he's Colombian, but he has this, he has the white blood. So I came out coffee, right? So looking at me and my mom, we grew up with that, the Latino black, we don't know what they are, right? So,
Right.
in different places, whether it be at school or workplace, there was always something to say. And I remember, like, it was minor stuff too. I remember, and I'll start with this, everything starts at home. Everything, for everybody. And you've heard this 1,000 times, what your parents kind of install in you and how is pretty much how you're going to get wired for the rest of your life. And you got to try to take as an individual, as your own soul, to kind of take the best of what they can give you and throw out the rest. That doesn't work, right? So, growing up in some of the towns that I grew up in, I mean, we kind of had like the George Jefferson kind of like life. We moved on up. Like we grew up in not so great neighborhoods. The Barrio or the Bland or the Velatics. Lower East Side, Manhattan, Flushing, Queens. Those places that I mentioned. That's where I lived as a child, growing up, and Jackson Heights and Elmhurst, and then we just kept moving up, and my mom kept getting better and better in all the different neighborhoods that we had her all of our opportunities start to grow. She even became one of the guys that worked, one of the girls that worked at the mayor's office for economic development for minorities in New York. So like she grew up and all that, and I just followed her. I followed her lead. But in all of that, there was times where obviously we had to face the racism. At one point, I remember going to an all uh, Italian-based school where it was just purely Italians, and I was the only Latino in the school. And it was my senior year of high school because I had to move from one neighbor to another, and it was one of my worst experiences in terms of like having to leave a place that I really loved, the school that I really loved in Queens in Astoria, St. John's Prep, to come to a completely different place. And Staten Island, had to offer something. That's where I ended up going in Staten Island. And I remember, having a good time in certain times of my life there, but other times it was just kind of weirding off. And that's when my parents divorced when we moved to Staten Island. weird
Yeah.
place. Like the energy of that place just kind of like sucked us in. And I remember around that time there was a movie called La Bamba, which
Yeah.
one of my boys, Lou Diamond Phillips, played
Yeah.
amazingly.
Phillips is my friend. I love Lou.
Yeah, he's awesome, and he did a great job. And well, when that movie came out, what is a hit? And at that time of my life, I kind of looked like Richie Valens, and I had my hair, combed back, with the ducktail in the back. I was just kind of like chilling in my own vibe, and I loved the 50s, and I loved that whole thing. So I go to this school, and the guys in the school, they couldn't help it. They're like, hey Richie. They kept calling me Richie Valens the whole time. And I just kind of laughed it off. And I knew inside of me, they didn't know who I was. So I kind of forgave it. I had to forgive it because they just didn't, that's what they knew, Staten Island, growing up with those guys, and their crew. I grew up almost everywhere in New York. So I got to meet all sorts of kinds of people. And that's the blessing that I had, in terms of like, honoring, respecting different cultures. And what they didn't know is that I also practiced martial arts since I was 6 years old. In order to fend off anything, right? It's just to survive in the streets. I used to ride the trains by myself since I was 7 years old.
Wow.
I was that lock and key kid you heard about. You know what I mean? Like the parents are working off in school. As soon as I came from school, I had the key, open the door, lock the door, and never let anybody in till the parents come home. They didn't know that about me. So I had already a great defense mechanism. But so, one guy finally got in my face after a week, just like my first week there. Finally, he had to try and see what I was made of. So he's like, hey Richie, how you doing, man? You like I call you Richie? I'm like, my name is Yancey. Yes, Richie Valens was dope, and God bless his soul. But no, I'd appreciate if you call me Yancey. He's like, who the fuck are you calling? Yeah, I'll call you Richie if I want to. So I was like, excuse the explicits, but I was like, okay. I said, I'll see you later then. And I just walked away. He's like, see me later? Yeah, I'll see you later. So now cut to about 2 hours later, we have gym. And I was on time. The kid shows up a little bit late. But that gym that we had a punching bag. So I didn't have to do anything. I was just warming up. And I'm knocking that punching bag all over the place. About 5 minutes later, he's like, hey, Yancey, how you doing? I was like, hey, thanks for calling me by my name. He's like, yeah, man, I didn't know you fight. I was like, nah, it's something I do. I love it. He's like, oh, that's cool. Hey, can you show me how to do that? Yeah, sure, man, no problem. A lot of times it comes from the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And some of the things that I've learned in life that I was lucky to learn even early in life is respect. Not fear, respect. So unfortunately, so much has gone on in our world that, somehow people have just buried themselves in fear of the unknown. And so I learned to turn that around and say, no, wait, what do you got to fear? Respect. Respect. Because if you respect, and what does that mean to you? That means that you will actually take the time to find out who or what that is, who that person is, and what are they about, or what is it, right? So, for example, again, blessed to be an actor and an artist. If I take on a role, the first thing I do, even in the audition process, I'll look up, okay, I'm playing a doctor, okay, this is far from me, but I love to service people. I love to help people. So what are we talking about here? What kind of doctor am I? Okay, am I a neurologist? Okay, I'll look up neurology. Okay, I'll sit there and I'll look it up and I'll understand it. I'm not fearing it. I'm not scared. I'm respecting it. Okay,
Right.
keep going. Okay, what kind of a heart attack did this person have? Okay, this person had this kind of heart attack, and then we did this and blah blah blah, and this is what it's called. Got it. Okay, got it. And that's why there's a difference between one kind of heart attack and another kind of heart attack, and it affects the brain in a different way. Boom. Now I go and I give it my heart, and I know what I'm talking about,
Right.
and I have a newfound respect for my friends who are neurologists,
Mm-hmm.
who are scientists, who are people of help. So it's about learning about people. It's like, so if I saw a person walking down the street and their whole color, they're purple. Let's say they're purple. Say first thing, oh shit, are they from outer space? What the fuck? Now I'll look it up. Okay, wait a minute. People with purple pigmentation. What's going on there? You know what I mean? I'm gonna sit there and be like, So a lot of times people immediately go, what the fuck is that? And then they start calling people out, right? And that's just, unfortunately, not everybody has the common respect. And that's what we need to kind of keep pushing out there, I feel, is to, to go, if the parents aren't teaching them, there are people out there that understand what respect is. In every community, every walk of life, at least 30 to 50% of the people understand what respect is. And you can go to them. And I personally found situations in my own life for my son right now. He's in school, and in second grade, there was a kid that was talking nonsense in his class, and specifically to my son. And I said, "What'd you do, son?" And he said, "Well, I told the teacher because I was scared." I said, "Very good. But you don't have to scare. You don't have to feel that fear. I want you to understand that you did the right thing. You respected that kid by getting him help. And thanks for telling me because you're getting him help. Because now I'm going to talk to the principal, and we're all going to help this kid and figure it all out." And that's what exactly happened. And then between the principal, between me, the parent, and the kid's parent, we all got together and had a play date. And we all understood each other on a different level.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. This person's talking like this because, the parents are divorced. One parent is not there, and he's got a lot of anger, and it's displaced, and he's bringing it to class. Done.
Yeah.
Understood. And we honor that, and we try to help the person by, maybe have another play date, let them be friends, right? But understand that that parent has to make sure that kid knows that kind of language does not happen in school or anywhere, not at home, not at that is not okay. And I'm talking about simple things like, this particular kid was talking about, like, he literally stepped up to my son, but whatever, he singled him out, maybe because he was taller than him or whatever. And he walked up to him and was like, "I'm going to kill you." So you can't say that shit nowadays. You can't say that shit back in the 70s. That would get your nose bled. And I taught my son how to fight, but I'm so happy that he did not resort to punching or to hitting. He resorted to saying, "You know what? That's not right. I'm going to tell the teacher."
Mm-hmm.
That was super intelligent of him. And I'm really happy that somehow at home, I spend the time with my kids when we brush our teeth, and I let them speak out affirmations. I am wonderful. I am not better than anybody, but nobody's better than me. I am awesome. I am kind. I am patient. You got parents that make these kids say these things in front of the mirror and make them have that self-love, that self-respect. They're going to pass that on to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it starts. I was lucky to read books like "Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting." I was lucky to read books like The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. I was lucky to introduce my kids to a book called, was it Big Feelings, Little Things by Deb Mills. These books helped my kids. The first two books I told you helped me when I was growing up. And I had anger management. Trust me, growing up in New York, you got a lot of triggers. You got a lot of triggers, But growing up in New York, and also, going through my parents' divorce and all of the craziness that went on in those times, moving from different neighborhoods to different neighborhoods, seeing the things that 6 and 7-year-olds shouldn't have to see in the neighborhoods, Yeah, I had triggers, and luckily for me, I understood early on through the martial arts and through my mom that no matter what, I always had to have respect for everyone and everything around me. And so with that, I was able to A, stay out of trouble, B, not be the source of the bullying, not be that guy that, just doesn't understand people, but I always respected people. And I found at 12 to be an artist, like 12 years old, like this is what I want to do. So I had a great opportunity to learn about people and cultures and whatnot. And, I remember in particularly too, like my own father, when I said I want to be an actor, he associated theater and film and all that with being gay. So he was like, "Oh, my son is gay." He told my mom that my son is gay. I said, "Dad, even if I was gay, it would be okay. But that's just not my inclination. I happen to like women, and I have a girlfriend. But hey, whatever you want to think, it's okay." I knew that even then at 17. I was like, at 13, 14. Actually, I was 14 years old when I started taking dance classes. He thought it was like, I was like, "That's it, my son's gay." I'm like, you know what? If I was, it's okay, and I got gay friends, and it's okay. I respect everybody. I understand you came from a farm. I get it. And mom told me all your whole story. I don't need to know. I don't need to. I get it. You don't get it. I get it.
Right.
But no matter who I bring through here, all I ask is that you have respect. That's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was lucky to have that, but not a lot of people had that opportunity. And so, with that said, especially in the school system, if it's not at home, nowadays, thank God, because it wasn't very apparent back then, but nowadays in most, big cities, not so much the rural towns, but it's starting to happen. It's starting to happen, but the schools really need to help the students as much as they can. Even if there's 50 faculty members, if there's 10 faculty members that can handle this for the students that have the need, to understand what it is to have that self-love and to have respect for each other and to work things out with those that seem to be like abusive. Those 10 people are there. They're there. Even if in those rural towns, even if there's one, they're there. So the key is for a student or anybody to feel like in their community, if they feel like they're being picked on at even age 6 and beyond, it's okay to reach out and talk to somebody. You're not tattletaling. You're telling because you're helping. You're helping that individual by helping yourself as well.
Right.
So that's a big that's what I offer my insight to this whole conversation.
Yeah, no, I mean, I 100% love everything you said and agree with it. And I love that you say coming from a place of respect, because I don't think a lot of people realize that, it is about understanding. Like, I'm from New York as well, so I totally get it. And I'm from Queens. So I grew up around diversity and different people. And I live in LA now. I just moved here about a year ago, and it's very different than New York. I mean, I lived in New York, then I moved to Florida, moved back to New York, and now I'm in LA. I've always loved LA and always wanted to move out here, but I'll say one thing: it's the people are very different than where I come from in New York. I
Yeah.
don't know if you noticed it, but it's like
I noticed it. Trust me, I noticed it.
you're here, like
Yeah.
New Yorkers are just a different breed. I don't really know how to explain it, but
No, yeah.
in a good way. But a lot of people think, I don't know, they watch too many movies about New Yorkers and they have this in their head about New Yorkers. But, like they always think New Yorkers are bullied and nasty. And I was like, no, they're some of the nice people. They're just feeling honest. They just, that's how
Yeah,
it is.
most of us are pretty honest and tell it like it is. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
It's true. Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what it is.
And that could throw somebody off over here for sure. People who
Yeah,
grew up
yeah.
here in
Just,
Santa Monica or something. Yeah.
a lot of my friends tell me that lived here or from here. But I think it's a good thing, and I think that's a problem nowadays that we have with bullying is about, saying our feelings, showing our emotions. It's taught that it's a weakness. It's taught that if you're different, you know, people need to teach how you're teaching, and they need to teach your kids and how they're teaching in schools. And unfortunately, I spoke at a school with one of my advocates because they asked me to speak, and she asked me in New Jersey. And it was a school that very much took the bullying issue serious. And, it's not, sadly, not a lot of people do this, which is why you have a lot of kids taking their life. It's heartbreaking. But it's
I'm
young
sorry.
kids.
I'm sorry. For some reason, you're breaking up more so than
Um,
before. But okay.
yeah.
How do I sound? Am I breaking up at all when I talk?
No, you sound good.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. So, I think that there's so much going on at home with kids, but like, I mean, I had a lot going on when I was a kid, but I never went and took that out on anybody else, mostly myself. But, some don't know that. Like, I had other people in my life that probably kept me afloat, brought in that. my grandmothers, and I had people around me that, you know, whatever I learned or home, I got from somebody else, you know. So, but, you know, I think bullying is a problem because, like, there's a lack of respect, and a lot of parents aren't teaching their kids respect. They aren't teaching them manners. They aren't teaching them when people are different, different cultures, diversity in different ways. Like you said, you know, if somebody's interested, if somebody's a little feminine, they're a man, they're gay. If a woman has short hair, be a gay. You know, there's all these things that people assume, think about. Or not, it's not the point.
Right.
The point
Right.
is that everybody's so society. I mean, I'm 43 years old, so I grew up probably around kind of the same era as you, like 80s.
Right.
You know, I was
Right.
born in 89, so more the 80s and 90s. I just didn't have all the judgment back then.
Yeah.
We did, but it wasn't as prevalent.
Right.
Trying to say, and bullying was there, but now you have online. You have people that are doing all types of crazy things with social media, and we didn't have that growing up. I mean, there was mistakes eventually, but nobody did that.
Well, that's a tough thing too. It's like, you know, so many young people are online and they are posting their ideas. They're just coming into life and learning more about who they are and what they're doing. And unfortunately, they haven't built up thick enough skin yet to brush off some of the, you know, the comments that come up, you know. And so that's kind of a you know, it's kind of, we're stuck in a rock and a hard place when it comes to allowing your children to have social media be a part of their life. And again, that comes with parenting and guidance. That also comes with just being responsible and being respectful to yourself. If you don't have those things that we talked about earlier, that I shared with you, those mechanisms or those tools, it could work really. It could really just harm a person. If they don't have thick enough skin, you got to build that. You got to build that, and that's something that only comes in time. And it's unfortunate when you got, like, you know, 11-year-olds to, you know, to and beyond, 14, 15, 16, 20, 25, people who are still, they're young and they're still learning about themselves, and they're putting themselves out there and putting out all these ideas. And there's gonna be somebody who doesn't agree, and when they don't agree, they're gonna be sometimes hateful, and they're gonna sometimes be, you know, specific, and maybe they have something really honest to share that you might learn something from. But most people who don't have the guidance, or who haven't had a chance to build up those walls that we need, or those tools that we need to understand what is being said to us, like you said, not being able to assume and not being able to take things personally, those are very strong things. Those are things that Miguel Ruiz has shared with us, that only maybe 30% of the population of this planet embraces.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you don't have those tools, if you don't have pillars of life, then you're going to crumble when you hear the shit that's coming at you, or the kind of looks that come at you. I walk down my street and I see a gentleman who looks at me, and I could tell that they're like, like, who's this Latino in my community, right?
Yeah.
And I look at him and I'm like, have a good day.
Yep.
I smile right back at him. I paint him with love. I paint him with love. That's a tool that I learned from New York growing up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Kill him with love, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you laugh about it. But so that's the problem. Like that, unfortunately, not everybody has those things. So I keep pressing, like, all my friends, anybody who has any kind of issues where they're like, fuck, this hurts. I say, yo, read this book, yo. The Bible's great, but read this book. Read this book. It's, excuse me, your life is way, and the 4 agreements. 4 agreements, always do your best. Be impeccable with your word. Don't make any assumptions, and don't take anything personally. Wow. Like, you read that book, and you keep it by your house. Is a short read. You can read it while you're using the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have it in your car. You're sitting there waiting for somebody, just pick it up and start practicing it. And shit's gonna change for people. You know, people are gonna like understand, okay, yeah, maybe I got to look inside. Maybe I got to talk to somebody. I got to break the chains of pain. You know, this is not helping me. I'm not getting any smarter, any richer, any healthier by being an asshole. So maybe it's time to change. And, you know, and that's the beauty of it, that there's resources out there. We just got to keep digging. We got to keep helping each other share and telling people about it, you know, the time
Yeah,
to do.
absolutely. I have the four agreements. I have lots of books. I love to read authors and different things about this stuff. And the four agreements was recommended to me a while back. It, yeah, book. You know, all of it trauma, and you know, the thing is that you, like you said, we hoping all right people. Not everybody has support of certain, you know, parents growing up and have love and support and all that stuff. So we have to find someplace else to get. You know, those are the people that are lost. They might not be bullies, but they might be bullied. They might be more susceptible to it, not knowing how to handle it the way. Like there's people that are like, oh, just ignore it. I was like, yeah, it's not going to work for everybody. So I don't like to say ignore it because not everybody want to defend and speak out. And I think that that's great. I've done it for people that I bullied a year and a half because I spoke up on. But you know, I mean, cyberbullying and all this horrible stuff that's online now. I don't know if you. I don't think you're online that much, but I mean, I don't know if you witnessed it or maybe public figures a lot, but
Well, I did. I'll give you a quick example. 2 weeks ago, the whole Latin community just heard about James Franco uh, playing the role of Fidel
yeah,
Castro.
yeah,
So I just asked a question. I said, hey guys, this is what's happening. What do you think? About 70 comments. And then I said, thank you for your comments. And this, so for those of you who don't know me, this is how I feel. And I told them, I said, look, anybody on this planet can play any role they want. It's an artist's job to do that. We're not always going to get that chance, just because of the way the situation is. That's the way the ball falls. Sometimes it's a lot of different things are in play as to why a person plays a role. But by this time, understanding all that, in 2022, I feel there are at least 10 guys that can play Fidel Castro that are of the Latino community. And I hope that James Franco plays Fidel Castro amazingly. I hope that he takes the time to respect the culture and learn the Cuban Spanish language. There's obviously a difference in all the different Spanish language speaking languages. Take the time to know the man and know the history and do it. And that could take up to 6 months to a year to do that. So I hope they don't rush the process. I can't wait to see that happen. I hope it happens. I hope he does great. I say all that, and I get a lot of love from a lot of people, but there's always somebody. There's always two or three. And I'll just break it down for them quite easily. And I say, I know how you feel, and I respect what you think. But this is what I went through in my personal history for 33 years in the business. And so you have to understand that I got to ask this question, especially to all the Latino actors and actresses in this community, and let them know and express themselves how they feel about this. And is it okay? And
right.
is it something that we need to work on? And what can we do to make everyone feel, okay, you can play Fidel Castro, then I can play Malcolm X. I can play FDR, right? I can play whoever I want to play, right? Okay, let's go. You see, so it's just how we approach the people that want to counter, our ideas. It's all about respect.
Yeah. I mean, I love that you know, it is about respect. I mean, bullying is essentially, I mean, disrespecting, you know, wanting to hurt another person. And we also work with bullies here. We've worked with some that have turned their lives around. We've worked with some that have stopped. They weren't like deep into it, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done collectively. And, you know, whether it's apps on in schools, friends, family, um, it's a it's like, you know, like it says, it takes a village. It really does, because bullying is a serious epidemic, and many different forms of it, some of which we talked about, and talked about over the years that we've been around. That there's so many forms of bullying that people don't realize that they just have domestic violence, all that type of stuff. Different forms of bullying, levels and different levels, but there's still a form of bullying, which is what we try to, you know, fight against here. And there's happening in so many different ways and forms all over the world that I like to, you know, I think it's great when we raise money and everybody raises money, organizations raise money, but I think raising awareness and education, like you mentioned, and teaching and getting to know about each other rather than assumption, is really probably most important, and so everybody really learn about each other and about other cultures and about who we are, and then they won't be so fearful and be attacking and jumping at people, or just being nasty hateful just because they want to, or because they don't agree with something you did, or you know, people. I'll give you another example in your line of work. I've seen actors get jumped for roles they played. They didn't like it, they didn't like what they said. They didn't like. They don't want them to have opinions that are their own. They don't want friends with. They judge every move that you make all the time, and it's not to them. They could be very happy and go out in career like bullies do that. So I mean, it's a very expansive. You know, it's so dangerously all over the place, but it really does start with, you know, respect. And apparently, a lot of people are not being taught respect, or they're just parents.
Yeah, no, it's you know, and it's a tough line to it's a tough line to walk. It's not easy for parents too. I mean, we're all trying to do our best, and there's no perfect way of parenting. But I mean, if we have anything, I mean, if it's anything that we can offer, I mean, I give a basic thing. Like I'm sitting in my car right now, right? And like I remember driving. This is just yesterday, I think it was. My son's in the back. I'm driving. My daughter, my whole family's in the car. And my son, I said something to him that he didn't like, and he started to mock me. He started to make me. He like mimic me. He's like, I said like something like, calm down, take a deep breath. He goes, calm down, take a deep breath. I was like, right there. I said, son, listen to what I'm telling you. It's not time for you to be, you know, trying to make me feel small for what I just said to you. It's time for you to just listen and to understand that these are your elders, mommy, daddy, grandma. If we ask you to do something, take your time and just do it. And not without all the nah, 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 nah. It starts with that.
Yeah.
It's something as simple as that. And then he takes a deep breath and he's like, okay, fine. Right? Because you know, you got to call them out. You got to show that everybody needs boundaries. Everybody needs a little respect. You know, if you don't call them out at this age, God knows what's going to happen to these kids. You know what I'm saying? So it's really important that, you know, that even if it's not even, I know I'm so happy he's going to a very good school, and it's actually LUSD, but he got lucky in the right community. It's a good LAUSD school, and there is some good teachers in there. And one of the teachers, she was teaching through lockdown. She taught my son through lockdown, my kid in first grade, and he learned how to read, you know, between us and between her in lockdown. And they were, you know, doing the Zoom classes. But I tell you, she was fantastic. That girl, she could see on her camera when kids were, you know, belittling her or not paying attention. But she called them all out. She said, excuse me, no, we ain't doing that. This is what we're doing right now. Boom. And the kid's like, huh? What? How she saw that? You see what I'm saying? Even as parents, my wife by accident crossed the camera half naked because she had to go from the bathroom to the kitchen. She's like, excuse me, Mrs. Arias. I was like, you go, girl. You got an eye on all of us. Thank you for being so attentive. Thank you for being so attentive, you know? And it was like, so that, I mean, we need that. We
Yeah.
need that. We need people like that, and we have them. They're there. You're there. Thank you, God, for you. You're
Thank
there
you.
doing this for so many people. And thank you for inviting me. To have a power on this conversation, because it's an important one for sure.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is, and I love the insight that you've brought to the conversation, and I'm glad that you're a supporter of what we do here. And I mean, it's funny because I've heard a lot of those incidents with Zooms and things. People forget the cameras are on, and it's like they're everywhere. So it's funny. It's like it's also like, oh God, like oops, you know. It's I think people out because they think, like you said, if we keep doing it, remind people, but calling out in a way, like I don't think screaming, yelling, being nasty or hard or angry. You have to you didn't start screaming. And some parents just right away screaming. Like, that's really
Oh
not
yeah,
the
and with
thing.
that said, I'm not perfect. There have been times where my trigger launches. I've had a few moments where, like, if my son, threw something at his sister, or he threw something at me and it hurt us, or my daughter did that to him and hurt him. Yeah, that's a trigger for me, because I do not like violence in any shape, way, or form. And so,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I'll come up and I'll start yelling, and my yelling is strong because I'm a singer and I'm an actor, and it's very passionate, and I have to control that. And I have to remember that they're not going to hear me if I start yelling. They're only going to just understand fear. So that's something that I've been working on. Like, what percentage of volume do I need to get my message across
Mm-hmm.
clearly, so that they don't, so that they respect and they don't do something that it could obviously endanger themselves or endanger somebody else. So so those are things that we all work on. Like I said, parents are not perfect, but if you have some kind of understanding in life and some kind of mechanism, some kind of tools, we get better and better at it. you
No,
know
we're all human beings. Look, I think there's a lot of confusion the way people look at bullying and they think like human mistakes or an argument or a disagreement is bullying. And I said, no, it's how you talk to each other. It's the words you use. It's the actions if you get physical. There's so many things that make it bullying where you separate it from just being a human being and just
Right,
regular happen. Couples
right,
fight, friends fight, the business partners have disagreements. You yell, some people curse each other, as long as it's not abusive and you're not doing something on a consistent basis every day, we all make mistakes. We all have triggers. We all have to learn how to control
right,
them.
right.
There's a difference between those things, and that's where people don't understand. Like they're throwing so many words out these days, even younger generation. They don't really know what they mean or how to use them, and they're just like this, you're that, you're this. I see it on Twitter,
Right.
which is like a
Exactly.
dumpster fire. And it's
Yeah.
like they're just throwing things. You're a bully. You're the, and it's like no, 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 and no. Like that's not what those words mean. That's not how you use them. It's totally
Yeah.
inappropriate. And
Exactly.
it's just how we've become, and it's just like this mosh pit of chaos.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel these conversations
Yeah.
and awareness is so much more important than some of the other things that people see as important. I feel that talking is one of the most powerful things you can do in teaching,
Yeah.
educating your
Absolutely.
and you,
Words are super powerful. Words are
yeah.
super powerful. And the thing is, like, I'll give you another example. Like, so during the lockdowns, my son and I started playing video games, and I put up a little channel for him to do something productive with it, like teach him how to do programming and how to do anything that he wanted to do. He was curious about it, so we started playing video games, and we started playing Fortnite. And because his cousin, who's at the time 10, said, decided, yeah, let's do it. We play. I noticed that there's some violence in it, but it's kind of light, violence light. But at the same time, I said, okay, if we're gonna do this, these are the words we're gonna use. We're gonna build. We're gonna build stuff. We're not gonna say kill. We're not gonna say dead. We're not gonna say stupid. We're not gonna say, we're not gonna use these negative, poisonous words. We're gonna say, oh, we crystallized that person. We got points. We eliminated this opponent, but we got points. Oh, we lost this match. No, we did not lose this match. We learned how to be better builders or better teammates or better coordinators. We learn, not lose. There are no losers in any game. Learners. That's something that was real important. So you basically trying to help my son understand at an early age the wording that we use when we do anything, whether it be playing baseball on his baseball team or playing on a video game, that he learns. Because I noticed that when he was playing with the other kids, those are the words that they weren't using. And I was like, whoa, 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 let's slow down, everybody. If you want to play with us, this is how we talk. This is how we talk during the game. Then I ended up coaching his baseball team. And some of the kids, you know, you could tell they all come from different walks of life, different history, different things, different kinds of parenting. And I was so happy to have that opportunity to bring what I bring to the table into the baseball team. So we used great words. By the end of the season, everybody was talking a really fun language. They were understanding about teamwork. They were understanding about camaraderie, respect, having fun, mostly having fun, and forgetting the trying to understand what that feeling is when you don't hit, you're gonna get a hit, and you can't be mad because you don't hit every day.
Exactly.
You know, it's okay. You know, so those things, acceptance, taking ownership to what you're doing and how you're playing and what you're doing, and using the right words. It's a huge thing, man. It's a huge thing.
It is. It's very important, and it's funny. I have a friend who's an advocate. He's an actor as well. He's a gamer, and he plays the games, and he talks about, you know, some of the bullying that happens on Twitch, on, you know, the games. You know, with bullying. I mean, it's not bullying, it's bleeding everywhere. It's about words you use. I think that people should be of age online, in my opinion. A lot of people agree with that. People let their kids, they let them on to do whatever, and it's like the second they do something like bullying, and an adult pulls them out. You can't defend yourself. You're a child, and you're gonna say, well, you let them on, so now because you let them on with a bunch of adults, and they're bullying. I think 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds.
Look, because the word is so powerful, parents or anybody in the household needs to be there to supervise when they're playing in the universe, in the internet, that alternate universe. There's just so many people out there that want to just hurt. And so, I mean, it's like literally putting a kid in the playground all by himself and, you know, deal with the elements, which on one way will teach the kid one thing or the other. But why not supervise? Why not, you know, be able to, hey, yeah, you see that coming? All right, how you going to deal with that? Okay, you know what I'm saying? You got to have an adult, somebody with more experience to help guide them through that, you know? And then let them play by themselves, because then at least they have a foundation. They got some pillars, you know?
Yeah, they fought, and that's good. No, I mean, I probably would have gotten bullied. I mean, I tried to play Fortnite, and all I did was jump up and down and shit. I mean, I used to love video games, and I love games, and also I was a serious athlete, but I always had great coaches. I didn't have any of the bad coaches that make you like, oh my God.
You had luck. You got lucky. Yeah.
I was lucky, but yeah, you know, I mean, I was laughing because I was like, I've always been good at video games, and like I know that you know, I've seen you on a couple of times, and it was funny because I was like, I can't play this with anybody because like I just literally, my roommate even laughed at me because I jumped up and down with somebody right in front of me, and we just kept missing each other, jumping up and down all over the place. I was like, this is ridiculous. So it's like I probably get bullied just playing the games where you're like, this person stinks. Like
Right.
It's like, believe it or not, that happens in the video game world. So it's
sure, absolutely. But again, like if you have the right mentality, it doesn't matter. You just keep going. You want to do it, whatever it is you want to do. Hey, Topaz, it was hilarious.
He thought videotaped it and thought it was.
I played with Topaz before. I played with her before. She's a lot of fun. We gotta do it again. We should all the four of us. We should play a match. It would be fun. It'd be a lot of fun.
And everybody jump up and down. For some reason, on that one, I can't seem to get the aiming thing right.
Aiming right. Yeah, it's tricky because like I have the PC, my son has the PS5, and I'll play on the PC, and I can't do the keyboard thing. It's just not, it doesn't work for me. So I
Right.
put in a PlayStation 4 um, uh, joystick or controller joystick. Shit, now you know how old I am.
I
So I
didn't
put
have
in the,
joysticks too. I get it.
you know, the controller, and and so sometimes the wire pops out because I'm getting so excited, and then I'm like, my whole character starts spinning around. I'm like, oh, that's it, I'm done. And I'm lucky. Sometimes I'll get lucky. I'll knock out a whole squad by myself, even though my controller's, you know, bugging out, and I put the thing back in. I wish I could shoot that more. You know, I've got to catch myself on camera because that is probably one of the funniest moments I ever have when I play with my son, when my controller's wire comes out, because it's not wireless if I'm playing PC, you know, and to see me like try to figure that one out and then still remain in the game. That's crazy, man. But
Yeah.
yes, I look forward to playing with you and Topaz again,
Yeah.
and that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. We'll absolutely get a game going on. You know, I thank you. I want to thank you so much for this conversation because it was so enlightening. It was informative. I love everybody's perspectives. I love your perspective. I love everything you've had to say, which is why I like to have these conversations because everybody puts a little bit of genius from themselves into these conversations. Like I said, it's so important to have different points of view, different perspectives, different. And you brought a lot of interesting things to the table that some people have never mentioned. So we'll definitely do it again, and we'll do more. But for now, I'll let you get out of your car so you don't have to.
I'm gonna get back to the family.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and it was a
Thank you.
total pleasure. Thank you for the
Yeah.
invitation, and I'm happy to help.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much. Talk to you soon. Thank you,
Go ahead.
Yancey.
Take care, love. Bye.
Bye.